Right, we're almost there. Before we move to our final speaker, Steve, can you just give yourselves a big round of applause? Because you've made it through to the end. And in previous years, I think it's fair to say that there's been a little bit of a flood, a trickle of people who've left throughout the day. But you guys are hardcore and you've made it. So you are more committed to net zero than anybody else ever. Don't let anybody tell you different. Well done, everybody. Okay, we saved the best till last. The one, the only Steve Hardy, Joint Managing Director of SIDEY Solutions.
Thanks for your patience. You've only got me for the next 10 minutes. So, of course, I'd like to thank you very much for coming along. And as John mentioned, I'm Steve Hardy, the Joint Managing Director of the SIDEY Group. And I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the retrofit challenges of net zero. And actually, the reason why we're going to do that is that the title of this brief presentation is about getting back to basics. It's remembering what net zero is, how we're going to try and achieve it, and what it actually means, not necessarily just for us, but for our future generations. You see, 2045 or 2050, depending upon where you live, we've got to achieve net zero by, well, that's in 20, 25 years or so. And yet, actually, what does it really mean? And actually, it really means making sure that we've got a future for our children, our grandchildren, and all of the future generations thereafter. But they've only got a future if we ourselves do something about it now. And therefore, we must change. And by us changing, it means that we then need to look at the products, the materials, and the companies that we are going to choose now to be able to influence that change. I don't know if this is working. Oh, there we are. Okay, then. So who are SIDEY? Well, SIDEY are a window and door company who've been in business for over 90 years. And we've grown to become the largest window and door manufacturer and, importantly, installer, especially when it comes to retrofit solutions in Scotland. Now, I've been with SIDEY now for nearly 30 years, and our focus has always been on trying to lead in terms of quality, innovation, and sustainability, and then be independently recognised for such. And therefore, we've become one of the most highly certified and accredited window and door manufacturers and installers in the UK. And latterly, what's helped us achieve that has been our unique apprenticeship scheme, because, again, people are at the centre of sustainability, as has just been quoted there. And also coupled with that is also our community benefits scheme that ensures the communities then benefit from the projects that we're delivering on the ground. Our success was recognised internationally just over a year and a half ago in July 23, when SIDEY was partly acquired by the Envido group, who are the leading window and door group in Europe. They have 35 different business units across 12 different countries. And actually, our next slide here just covers off some of the numbers that we're talking about. So we manufacture 1,800 PVC and composite frames per week, but we also source in another 500 products per week. So we're not only one of the largest manufacturers, but also one of the largest customers for windows and doors. Last year, our turnover was £65 million, but 75% of that was into social housing retrofit. 15% into new build, and then 10% into consumer. It's interesting that we see market share in consumer there. It's a very fragmented market, but actually succeeding in that market is the only way that we're going to actually achieve net zero. Because new build and social housing, that can be legislated for, whereas private homes can't. Now, we don't have a solution currently, but what we need to do is target that message to the people who are going to have to spend their own money making sure that their homes and their lives meet that challenge. I mentioned Envido being Europe's leading window and door supplier and manufacturer, but key to their success has actually been operating a decentralized strategy. So they've got an 8.8 billion Swedish krona turnover, 35 business units, 12 different countries, nearly 5,000 staff. But interestingly, only 16 staff work at head office. The rest of it is decentralized into the business units because they understand that those local companies on the ground are going to provide the solutions needed for their respective markets. Now, when I speak about getting back to basics, the fabric first approach, that's been bandied about for years, hasn't it? And yet it's so funny how many people still forget about it. Now, being windows and doors, what we see there is that, interesting, in Scotland, I think it's quoted as about 20% of thermal heat loss leaves through windows and doors. Interesting enough, in Sweden, they calculated that to be closer to 35%. And actually, we need to then look at the fabric of that building before we even start thinking about other sustainable renewable energy sources that's going to heat and that's going to then obviously ventilate those properties there. So actually, windows and doors then form a critical part of any form of solution to achieving net zero. Ventilation is also another critical part of that solution. It's no good fitting a really high performance window at 0.8 U value and then ripping a massive hole in it to put a trickle vent in it. You've just literally lost it. And yet it still gets specified every day in life, all over the place. Why? When there's other solutions actually about there. So you really then need to engage with the suppliers who are installing these products as a holistic approach, as opposed to just looking at individual components. So what about our components and our windows? Well, some people think that PVC is the devil's work. It's the devil's product. Well, I'm going to stand in between you and him if that's the case. Because actually our windows, first of all, perform comparably to any other materials that's out there. Certainly in terms of thermal performance, and also in terms of meeting the challenge of passive house with active passive house solutions currently. But unlike a lot of other materials, the amount of recycled content now in PVC is only increasing and increasing and increasing. It was interesting, we got some stats from one of our systems suppliers, and you'll see that up there. Our standard now, 33% of all of our profiles contain recycled products in. You can actually specify a product with 100% recycling in. It just needs to get foiled on the outsides just to make sure that it doesn't degrade with U value. And what's also interesting as well is sometimes we kind of miss the point because we look to other countries to see what other countries are doing. Well, why don't we focus on what our own country's doing? SIDEY, we're based in Scotland, in Perth. Interesting enough, Perth is about 90 minutes from 90% of the population in Scotland. I think that's a great tagline. But see, when it comes to transport-related emissions, that's something to seriously consider. And actually also, see, when it comes to other elements of sustainability, and that's the social and economical aspects of sustainability, well then, let's sometimes look a little bit closer to home, as opposed to thinking we need to venture far away. And the reason why I mention that is some of the solutions that we're busy working on are absolutely phenomenal. Bioethylene, have you heard of that? It's brilliant, plant-sourced. Low carbon glass, whereby over 50% is recycling that's contained in that glass. Thinning glass down in triple glazed units to give you the same performance, but actually use a lot less material. Vacuum insulated glazing. Sounds like something out of a rocket ship, doesn't it? But actually you can specify it in windows and doors right now, and we'll happily supply them and install them for you. So I briefly mentioned about PVC, but the world doesn't exist without PVC. This place, this building doesn't exist without PVC. What's interesting about PVC is the highest quality of PVC is actually utilized in building products, particularly windows and doors. The BRA is given them a green guide rating of A and A+, which means that they've got at least a 30 to 40 year life expectancy, serviceable life expectancy, before they come to the end of that. But what our industry has been absolutely fantastic at is then introducing that circular business model. Because what happens at the end of that product that we're going to have? Well, actually, that product can now be recycled back into another window. So you can actually have PVC windows that are removed, that are recycled, that can go back into that building as another window. And you can actually now do that up to 10 times without the material degrading enough to lose its quality. And even after that, it can then be recycled back into other products. So what does that give you? A 300 to 400 life year expectancy from one new window that's been manufactured. So it highlights that sometimes we have to just change our thinking a little bit in order to achieve what we're trying to achieve here. And actually, what we've then learned is that we've introduced that circular business model, not only into one particular component that we use in the manufacture of windows, PVC is probably about 30%, but then we've tried to apply that right across the whole of our business with some absolutely fantastic results. And you can see the results just at the bottom there. So 100% of our post-industrial waste now is either reused or recycled. Because let's face it, recycling is the last solution. You need to reduce it, you need to reuse it, and then you need to recycle it. But never would you want to throw it away. 97% of our manufacturing waste can be recycled or reused. The most important bit, especially dealing about retrofit, because we're going to have to rip old windows and doors out to fit new ones, 96.5% of everything that we now do is then recycled, which is a phenomenal statistic. What's interesting is that some of our systems companies can't get enough of old windows and doors to be able to go and use in new ones. We've got to stand up there. SBTI, obviously we'll know all about that. But then you've got to be able to go and measure and identify before you can progress. And therefore, any businesses that are here to learn from it, well, that's what I can then preach about, is make sure you measure now, then engage to understand how you can reduce in order to hit your targets. Because I'm well aware in the business community, a lot of companies haven't even started this particular process. And then let's not forget why net zero. Because net zero also involves then both the social and economic aspects of sustainability, not just the environmental perspective. So if I can leave you with something at the end of our presentation, well, we can overcome retrofit challenges quite simply by getting back to basics. Focus on the right products, focus on the right specification, the right companies, get a better understanding of how those products affect the environment and also encompass all aspects of sustainability, including social and also economic. Because after all, we're not doing this for ourselves, we're doing this for future generations.